T-Wolves go toe-to-toe with Luka and Kyrie. I got Wolves expert Jack Borman. He's going to help us break it all down. It's all coming up next on the Locked On Wolves POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Wolves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Woo, T-Wolves, man, they fall short. Absolute slugfest tonight, though. First, Dallas, 115-108. They dropped to 25-9 on the year. What's happening, everyone? Back in the lab, back at it. Another T-Wolves POSTCAST episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Myself, Luke Inman, at Luke_Spinman. That's the man, Jack Borman. He's on Twitter, at JRBorman13. Before we jump into all the action, though, quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. All right, let's jump right into it. Lots to cover. So we got the bounce back game we needed on Friday versus Houston. Same state tonight. Completely different squad, though. They got that magnificent dynamic duo between Luka and Kyrie. And I got to tell you, man, this was an absolute slugfest. The shot making in this game, magnificent. The Wolves took every punch. They battled back. They were in this one down to the wire. They do fall short, though. What's the major headlines, the major observations, top of your head, just to kick things off?
Yeah, the first one for me was their inability to rebound the ball. I have it here. Dallas missed 27 2-point shots tonight. Dallas rebounded 17 of them. So Dallas rebounded more of their 2-point misses than the Timberwolves did. The Timberwolves last season really struggled against teams that shot a lot of 3-pointers. They really struggled to rebound in those matchups, especially on 3-point shots. But it really wasn't 3-point shots that were the problem for the Wolves. Dallas actually missed a lot of open 3-point shots, and Minnesota did a good job of rebounding them. Minnesota rebounded 20 of Dallas's 25 missed threes, which obviously was a great thing, but it was the 2-point shots that just killed them. And then, Dallas, 15 offensive rebounds, 24 second chance points. Anytime you allow 41 combined second chance points and points off turnovers, that's just a recipe to lose a game. And then obviously they only scored 2 points in the final 3:19. And that was just that Chief Edwards dunk, that Dallas was just giving them because the game was already over at that point. So, it's just, when you pair those two things, it's obviously problematic, but the Timberwolves just really struggled to defend the rim in this game. I thought, especially, Rudy Gobert picked up 2 fouls in a row. And then in the third quarter, Dallas really played the game on their terms to kind of blow this game open and ultimately make it, too much for the Timberwolves to kind of overcome and then sustain. I thought that, Dallas did a great job of kind of turning it into a shootout, especially when the Timberwolves weren't really playing with a true center. In Dallas, that's what they want to do. They want to play 5 smalls. They want to spread you out. They want to, let Kyrie and Luka dance and score in isolation. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, those two were phenomenal tonight, 69 combined points. Those two, 11 of 20 from 3-point range for those two tonight. So, when you're doing that, it's pretty tough, especially when you consider, and Carl had 60 of their own. I mean, that's a good night from them, right. But ultimately just too much shot making for Dallas and, not enough execution, I guess, down the stretch for the Timberwolves. And we'll get into it, or I want to get into it a little bit with Rudy Gobert, but pretty problematic with some of the spacing issues and decision-making that the Timberwolves had.
Yeah. And I want to pick your brain a little bit more about those rebounds here in a little bit as well. But yeah, you're right. I mean, already 3 of 4 matchups between these two. But again, no Kyrie previously. This Mavericks team, man, just sitting down and watching them for 2.5, 3 hours. They just look like they got their swag back, man. Kyrie's playing the way he was tonight. Watch out. They have another gear to them when both those guys are healthy. And by the way, 2 of the best teams in the NBA as well in clutch time. Wolves number 1, Mavs 3. You could see it on full display those last 5-6 minutes. And again, it was an absolute heart stopper in Dallas tonight. Let me swing back to Dallas, actually. Let me hone in on them here for a second, because you knew all the focus was going to be on Luka and Kyrie. Okay, obviously. But 69 points, 13 assists, 14 boards. So fun to watch, but wildly frustrating when you got to go against them, right? I mean, Luka's out there looking like Larry Bird. Kyrie gets to the rim. How do you stop those guys moving forward in let's just say, a potential Western Conference matchup? Like, how do you even start by getting the ball out of those two guys' hands?
Yeah, you got to take their space away. And I thought that when the Timberwolves switched in the fourth quarter, so for the majority of this game, Jaden McDaniels guarded Luka Doncic, and Anthony Edwards didn't really – he guarded Kyrie Irving but didn't play any defense on him. And then they switched that matchup in the fourth quarter so that or for most of the fourth quarter so that Ant was on Luka and Jaden was on Kyrie. And Jaden does a lot better against smaller defenders where his length can really bother guys. So, Jaden, preventing Kyrie from shooting over the top of other guards, that's something that Kyrie does really well. So with Jaden's length and his wingspan, prevented Kyrie from being able to take that shot. You saw in that late turnover where Kyrie turned it over and then stole it back from Gobert, but Kyrie was taking that shot all game long, right in the middle of the paint. Kind of rising and falling away over smaller defenders, whether it be Mike Conley or Jaden McDaniels or Ant even, but he wasn't able to do that with Jaden. And then with Luka, you got to get really physical with him, right? And the more that you can kind of get physical with him, take his space away, push him further and further away from the basket, the better chance you have of getting the ball out of his hands. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, they did it twice in a row where Derek Jones Jr. missed a wide open three, and then obviously he had that runway right to the rim because Dwight Powell sealed off Rudy Gobert really well and prevented him from rotating over and, taking that shot away. But just take their space away, use their length, and bring a second guy if you're, if it's a situation where one of those two guys is getting an on-ball screen atop the key. And that's what the Timberwolves did, right? They I guess, didn't let Luka Doncic beat them in the final possession, but final couple possessions. But, Kyrie Irving really did his damage, in the final, 6 minutes of that game, just with the way that he was able to shake free from guys and, and find open spaces in the floor and really, find success both as a spot up shooter and as a guy, breaking them down off the dribble. And that's really the difference with having Kyrie there. It's another guy that can, not only space the floor, is an excellent 3-point shooter on the move, on the catch, but obviously is really incredible at pump faking and driving and making things happen that way, which obviously the Timberwolves haven't had to deal with the first few times they've played the Mavericks this season.
Yeah, well said. I suppose we'll go through the big three here one by one. We'll save Rudy for the end. Cat had the box score numbers again tonight. If you're just box score scout, 24, 7, and 7. Decent box score numbers on Friday, too, versus the Rockets. I asked you about him the other night. You gave him like a C minus, but there were some things that irritated you. You just expect more from his game at times. So now I'm just curious in general, what was your assessment from Cat tonight? I knew he picked up his fourth foul, I want to say like 18 seconds into the second half, which that's tough to swallow. But what was the scouting report on Cat tonight? And don't hold back. I appreciate the honest evaluation when I get it.
Yeah, I would get Carl an A- in this game, which is probably about as high as you can go considering how stupid his fourth foul was. I mean, I just threw my hands up in the air sitting here watching it, just saying like, come on, dude. This is year 9 for Carl. Plays like that just can't happen, but you have to give him credit for the way that he responded. He came out firing. He was really aggressive in the fourth quarter, made 2 huge 3-pointers, and then had that and one to help the Timberwolves, take the lead. And Dallas looked really shell-shocked. One, that the Timberwolves were even in the game, but 2, that they got out to that 4-point lead. And then the other thing that I really appreciated about Carl's game in the fourth quarter that I think probably will go a little bit unnoticed was just the contested rebounds that he made in the fourth quarter was really something. He had 5 defensive rebounds in the fourth quarter, and I'm pretty sure all 5 of them were like really contested, important, game within 2 or 3 points, one way or the other. And then didn't turn the ball over, outletting the ball, which has been something that's been problematic for him at times throughout this season. So he was great there. But then in the second quarter, Carl did a great job. Just after Dwight Powell picked up his 3rd foul and had to go back to the bench, like 7 or 8 minutes left in the second quarter, they just went to a bunch of left box post-ups for Carl, and he did a great job taking advantage of it. Made the right reads. He's excellent when going in post-up situations. He's one of the most efficient players in the league against single coverage post-ups, which is what was happening against Grant Williams and Derek Jones Jr. So the way that he was able to take advantage of that and, kind of just give the Timberwolves something when Anthony Edwards wasn't really, all that aggressive right when he came back in. And part of that was just because Karl was rolling. He had 9 points on 3 of 4 shooting, I think got to the line for 4 free throws in that quarter. So you've got to appreciate that. And I think, something that you want to be able to figure out is, how to keep Ant a little bit more engaged while Karl really has it rolling on the block. I think sometimes, Karl and Ant, they both have the same problem, honestly, is like they just forget to get the other one involved when one of them is rolling. So I think that for Karl, it's just, how can you stay away from picking up just some of the dumb fouls on the offensive end of the floor? That's the only thing keeping it really from an A for him. I thought that the fourth quarter, obviously missed some 3-point shots, but, we can't be talking out of both sides of our mouth, asking Karl to take more threes. He's a 41% 3-point or 42% 3-point shooter in the fourth quarter this season. I didn't have a problem with any of the 3-pointers that he took. A bad 3-point shot from Karl Anthony Towns is better than most good shots from other guys. I'd really tough to poke holes in his game tonight. Thought he played a really, really good game that obviously kept the Timberwolves in it.
You want to talk J-Mac for 60 seconds? I mean, if we're doing the blame pie chart right now, the comment section, J-Mac, yes, Jaden McDaniels, the comment section right now going on. Rudy has taken plenty of the share. Don't get me wrong, but J-Mac's looking at a big piece too. If you were to ask our comment section right now, what's the issue been? Not just tonight, maybe, but as of late, from a guy who everyone had a lot of high expectations for J-Mac heading into the year. Yeah,
there is zero reason why Jaden McDaniels should not have all the confidence in the world in his offensive game. He already has his contract. He's got his money, and right now he's not living up to it. His offensive game waxes and wanes at a level that is just completely unacceptable for someone that's as talented as he is, and how much his teammates talk him up, how much his teammates give him opportunities. At a certain point, he's just got to be a consistent 13 to 17 points per game guy. And we've been talking about it a little bit in the last, 3 or 4 postcasts that we've done here that, we just need to see more consistency and need to see more confidence, because when he, believes in what he's doing and steps into it and plays with confidence, steps into, open 3-point shots, feeling like he's going to make it when he puts his head down on the dribble, most of the times good things happen. And I thought he was just really timid tonight. I don't know if he was kind of taken aback by some of the shots that Luka Doncic was making early in this game on him. I don't know what the answer is, frankly, because, we obviously can't peek into these guys' psyches. We can't, understand if, there's something going on off the basketball floor that we don't know about that's messing with things. Like we just don't know. And so, all I can tell you is from what I've seen from a basketball standpoint is that a lot of his 3-point jump shots tonight just looked like a guy that had zero confidence in his shot, that didn't believe that the shot was going to go in when he let go of it. And especially against a team like Dallas that's playing against smalls. And he's done really well attacking guards off the dribble. And he just wasn't able to do it tonight. All the times that he got into the paint, he got kind of caught in the air and had to make these crazy contorting jump shots that, are just really tough, even for a guy with his touch and his length and his ability to shoot over the top of guys. But the Timberwolves just need more from him if they want to, if they want to find success against teams, they're going to trap Ant at the top of the key, because this is exactly what a lot of people have concerns about with the Timberwolves, success translating in the postseason is like, if Ant's getting trapped and you have to play 4-on-3, who's going to beat you?
Who's the next guy up? Yep.
And, a lot of guys will say, well, Mike Conley, but you know what? Like when Ant gets rid of the ball, a lot of the times it's not going to Mike Conley. Like they're shading to get the ball to Karl or Jaden or Rudy, because Mike's going to make the right play in a 4-on-3 situation. But those other 3 guys, chances are they're probably not going to. And that's exactly what Dallas bet on late in the fourth quarter. And that's exactly why the Timberwolves offense, went to hell. But that's going to happen. And you got to tip your cap to Dallas for executing a really strong defensive game plan in the clutch. But the good news is that like, this is a really good film for the Timberwolves to go back and watch and look at things that they can clean up against teams that are going to want to go small. And the great news, Luke, is they're playing Orlando next and then Boston. And then they've got the Clippers on the schedule, I think 3 of their next 5 games. And those are all teams that are going to try to go small against the Timberwolves. And so they'll have good opportunity to try to right some wrongs that they had tonight in Dallas.
Yeah, Pistons and Spurs around the corner as well there in the next 2-3 weeks. So something to look forward to as well. All right, more deep dive right after a quick word from Game Time. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to you by Game Time, because you should never have to worry when buying tickets to any big event. That's why Game Time, it's the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets to any local event, concerts, comedy shows, sporting events, even Broadway theater, and with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Personally, for me, I love the view from the seat feature they offer, so I can get a real look and accurate visual on where my seats are going to be, so I know exactly what to expect before spending all that money. And with their all-in prices, Game Time shows you exactly how much you're spending with no hidden fees. It's time to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. See for yourself how easy it is. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Again, just create any new account. Redeem your code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Game Time. Terms apply. All right, let's pick back up here. Rebounds. I mean, you kind of touched on it. Kind of a big A topic going into this one. It was the A topic at halftime. It was a huge part of the game at the end. 51-44 Wolves tonight. Rudy, 17 boards. Ant with 10. Naz Reid with 9. I guess just talk to me about the rebounding by the Wolves, how it impacted this game a little bit more in depth. And remember, too, small sample size, but heading into Friday versus the Rockets, Wolves were ranked dead last in rebounds in the NBA. Small sample size. Take it with a grain of salt. Your quick thoughts on the rebounding with this Wolves team?
Dead last in January or dead last?
Yeah, 2-3 games. Yes.
Yeah.
But I will say, Jack, if you look at month by month, it's been trending down.
It's gotten worse.
3 months. Yeah.
Yep, it absolutely has. The biggest thing in this game for me is just, Dallas does an excellent job of crashing from the corner. So when Luka and Kyrie are dancing kind of in the middle of the floor and take shots, a lot of times off-ball defenders just kind of want to watch what those two guys are doing and forget that they have to play defense even when the shot goes up. And even though the Timberwolves did get, hit with some gnarly foul calls when they were, correctly boxing defenders out, they just didn't box out enough tonight. Guys got the rebounds from the corners and, kept so many possessions alive for the Mavericks. And obviously, that's the difference in the game, is the difference in second chance points tonight. But you have to give credit to Naz Reid. 9 rebounds is a great game for him, especially, stepping in relief for Karl-Anthony Towns. I think, a lot of times in games like this where Dallas is going to take a lot of short mid-range shots and kind of medium mid-range shots right around the free throw line, that's going to, kind of force Rudy Gobert to come up out of the drop a little bit, which forces the guys, in the corners to rebound a lot more. And so that's why you saw, really strong rebounding games from Naz and from Anthony Edwards too, who had 10 of his own rebounds. And I think Karl would have, gone well over 10 rebounds tonight had he played the majority of the third quarter. But I think the Timberwolves, for the most part, did a good job of rebounding when they played the game on their terms in the fourth quarter, when it was more of a standstill and played a lot more in the half court. I think Dallas, did a great job of flying the ball up the floor in transition or semi-transition opportunities. And the Timberwolves were really struggling to get matched up in transition. And when you're struggling to get matched up, a lot of times you're not really going to know who you're responsible for blocking out on the offensive glass. And so Dallas did a great job of taking advantage of those opportunities that they created by pushing the ball up the floor. You look at 51-44 in the rebounding. I think it's a little misleading. I think so too. Because of the return on investment of those rebounds. I think that Dallas's 44 had a higher return on investment than the Timberwolves 51, if you will. But there's a lot of other things that you can poke holes at. You can poke holes at the fact that the Timberwolves missed 8 free throws in a game they lost by 7. Rudy Gobert 1 of 4, Naz Reid 0 of 2. I know Naz screwed his wrist up, but I don't necessarily think that the rebounding is like the one thing. I think it's more of what they did with the rebounds, at least.
For
I mean,
sure.
credit the Timberwolves for 18 offensive rebounds for 21 second chance points. I mean, that's great. That's what they came into this game trying to do. But, obviously you're not, if that's, item number one on your offensive game plan, and that's not even really a focus for you because of how small Dallas is on the other end of the floor, and Dallas does it better than you. Chances are you're going to lose the game if you can't take care of number one on the game plan.
Yeah, two sides of the story with those boards. You're absolutely right. First, yeah, it's getting them, of course, but what do you actually do with them? That tells more of the story, I think, than just box score scouting sometimes, for sure.
Yeah, and one other thing too with the rebounds, Dallas missed so many wider than wide open threes that their guys normally knock down.
Yeah.
When you look at Tim Hardaway Jr., 2 of 8, Seth Curry 0 of 2, those both were wide open. Grant Williams 1 of 3 on wider than wide open threes. Like, some of the Timberwolves rebound numbers might be a little inflated because of that too.
Yeah, well said. All right, 36 for man. I mean, we could go on and on about this dude. It's a 25, 30-minute show. We don't have time, but just your quick rant about his game right now, specifically the last, 10, 12 games or so, and the kind of run this dude's on right now.
Yeah, I love how much he's getting downhill. That's the biggest change. Chris Finch has been talking for weeks about how he's really been trying to get through to Ant about getting downhill and getting to the free throw line and settling for all these mid-range jump shots, especially the jumpers that go off the glass. He just isn't converting those at a high enough rate. And so he did a great job in the first quarter. I think he had 8 paint attempts in the first quarter, which was awesome. He got to the line 4 times, but again, only got to the line 3 times the rest of the game. Did most of his damage from outside the paint after the first quarter. And so that's something with Ant that you really have to, keep an eye on with him, is just you have to keep reminding him, hey, get downhill, downhill. And especially in the third quarter when, the Timberwolves had to play in a 5-out, offense. Chris Finch didn't really give them any help out there scoring wise offensively, but you would have expected him to try to get into the paint a little bit more there. But my biggest thing from Ant in this game was his defense. I thought his defense was awful for most of this game. He lost Kyrie Irving in transition 5 or 6 times that resulted in Kyrie getting wide open shots. And I think he made 3 or 4 of those shots. And credit to Ant, man. He was awesome in the fourth quarter and really locked in and played great defense on Luka, had that steal on Kyrie, had that block on Kyrie, but he's got to care more in the first 3 quarters on the defensive end of the floor. But I mean, what he was able to do, 36 points. I think he had 14 in the fourth quarter, either 12 or 14 in the fourth quarter. What was it here? He had 12 in the fourth quarter. Continues to be an animal in the second half of games, man. But it's just about doing it for 4 quarters. Because if he did it for 4 quarters, he very well could have had 45 or 50 points in this game.
Yeah, that's insane, man. You mentioned it. Sometimes you gotta just give credit where credit's due. Sometimes quick 60 seconds on the Mavs. I know we've touched on Luka and Kyrie. That combo is ridiculous, but they got some others as well that can kind of feed off them, balance that roster and depth chart out a little bit. Quick scouting report on another potential Western Conference playoff team and how these two teams match up after what we saw again tonight.
Yeah, they're a team that runs a ton of spread pick and roll, which we talked about in the last couple of games here.
Yeah.
And they do a great job of playing the game on their terms, right? They want to speed you up. They want to run up and down. They want to, they want to put the ball in their 2 best players' hands and make you defend them in actions that they're very efficient in. And they put you in a bind offensively. And for them, it's just about, can they make open 3-point shots with guys that, aren't Kyrie and Luka? When you think about Tim Hardaway Jr. and Grant Williams and Derek Jones Jr., Josh Green, Dante Exum, guys like that. And so, they're also really good at sharing the ball. They move the ball really well. They attack closeouts really well. For them, it's just going to be, can they hold up defensively in a 7-game series? And I think, when you look at how the Timberwolves have played against them so far this season, you'd think the answer might be no. But we'll see. I mean, those are 2 of the best perimeter scorers in the history of the NBA. They're 2 of the most talented guys in the history of the NBA. And anytime, you have 2 guys like that on your team, you're going to be a really tough team to hold down over 7 games because your defense is going to get tired and frustrated and lack discipline at times. And so just an awesome test for the Timberwolves, a really fun team that they've matched up against. And they've had some games come down to the wire down in Dallas the last couple of years that have been fun to watch, just with it being, strength on weakness and which team can, I guess, lean on those weaknesses, the other team more. And tonight Dallas did the better job.
Yeah, I mean, we get frustrated. We're screaming at the TV sets. Can you imagine how frustrated they got to be actually trying to stop those two, man? I mean, giving blood, sweat, and tears out there. It's just so maddening. I mean, you're just pulling your hair out at your wits' end trying to stop those two, man. Regardless what happens from here on out, I would assume maybe they sneak into the playoff. They're going to be a fun watch no matter what, if you're just a fan of the NBA game. A couple more quickies to close here before we wrap up. But first, I got a quick word from FanDuel. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers, you're getting $150. Yeah, $150 in bonus bets when you win just a $5 money line wager. $150 in bonus bets when you throw down and win $5 on any money line wager. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, no better time to get in on all the action. The app, it's so easy to use, and they got everything you need. Money lines, parlays, prop bets, you name it. They got it. FanDuel's got everything you need to bet on the entire NBA season, and it's by far the easiest and simplest betting app to use. Go check it out for yourself. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon today. America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, official partner of the NBA. All right, you kind of teased it a little bit here. I know we've touched on this, man, but Rudy Gobert, the floor is yours. What's on your mind? Get it off your chest.
Yeah, I mean, all I was going to say is that, Anthony Edwards has always said the right things about Rudy Gobert. He says he loves playing with Rudy Gobert. He says he has a lot of trust in Rudy Gobert. And so the PR team has done a great job of talking with Ant about Rudy Gobert, or he's just that good of a dude. But his play tells a completely different story. And tonight was a night where you can't really blame Ant for that. And so you saw in the fourth quarter that the Timberwolves took the use it or lose it timeout with about 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. And then Ant, had a situation where he shot over a double team instead of passing to Rudy wide open on the roll at the elbow. And so you're asking, well, why did that happen? And then literally the next possession or two possessions later, they come down and Ant has a situation where he could hit Rudy wide open, roll into the rim, or he could kind of bring the ball to the more middle of the floor and then kick to Jaden for a corner three. Jaden was 0 of 8 at that time, I believe, or 1 of 8 or something like that. And Ant still trusted Jaden to hit that shot more than he trusted Rudy Gobert rolling to the rim. And then the one time that Ant does trust Rudy Gobert, he does that Euro step and then throws it away in a pivotal possession for the Timberwolves. I believe it was with 1:10 left. They were down 3 right after Kyrie made a 3 to go ahead. And so for Ant, I mean, for Rudy's on the bench telling him like, hey man, you got to trust me. You got to trust me. You got to trust me offensively. And then he makes a play like that with the game on the line. It's just tough. I think that if the ball is going to be in Anthony Edwards' hands as much as it is in a game like this, then it might be a situation where you think about playing Naz Reid over Rudy Gobert when you consider the way that Naz Reid was playing offensively. And I just think that's something to keep an eye on, is that with how much the ball is Ant's going to want the ball in his hands. And Rudy Gobert is arguably the best screen setter of all time, creates a lot of space for Ant that way. But, when the ball's in Ant's hands, he's not even thinking about getting Rudy Gobert the ball. And I think for defenses, the more that they, study the Timberwolves, the more the stakes of these games rise. I think the more that's going to become a problem if the Wolves don't figure out a way for Anthony Edwards to, get Rudy Gobert the ball in situations where Rudy isn't going to turn it over, is going to be able to, dunk it or get fouled inside. And so that's just something to keep an eye on, because it's pretty rare that teams are able to really find success in the playoffs if if 2 of your best 3 players, are just have a complete disconnect offensively. And that's what we're seeing. And tonight's a perfect example of how that, lack of connection can totally crater the spacing on the offensive floor and totally screw up the offensive execution. And it's another reason why I think might be better to start out actions with Mike Conley handling the ball in the half court. Conley didn't initiate anything down the stretch of this game. And that's not on Mike. I mean, it's certainly Ant saying, get me the ball, or Finch saying, get Ant the ball. But, a couple nights ago, or a couple games ago, after the Timberwolves lost it at home, Ant was saying, we got to have Mike initiate more. And then what happens tonight? Mike doesn't initiate. whether that's Ant or Mike or Finch, I don't know. I'm not going to blame anybody without fully knowing that. But that's just something to keep an eye on, especially as we see the Timberwolves play 3 teams here coming up that are going to play small and and put a bind on the Timberwolves offense.
Let's end with a fun one. Keep things light before we get out of here. Kind of switch up the vibe. All-Star voting update as of Saturday morning. Ant 6th in votes. Cat 10th in votes. Any surprises there? I don't know if you've taken a peek at that at all. I know it's still early, but what's sticking out to you in the early goings with the Wolves, the All-Star Week? What are you looking forward to the most about All-Star Week next month?
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. I think it's a situation where if the Timberwolves still find a way to hold on to first place in the West, I don't think they will by the All-Star break. But if they do, hey, great for them. It'll be pretty hard for opposing coaches to not vote a second Timberwolves player in along with Anthony Edwards. So this voting period is just for All-Star starters. Both Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, if they were to make it, would both be reserved. So they'd both be voted in by all 30 of the NBA head coaches vote on the reserves that make the All-Star team. So historically speaking, most teams that are the number 1 seed get 2, if not 3 players in the All-Star game. So
interesting. Okay.
I think it would probably make more sense that opposing coaches would vote in Karl Anthony Towns over Rudy Gobert, and then potentially Rudy Gobert making an All-NBA team at the end of the season, I think is probably the more likely outcome. Just because of the way that Karl's played. I mean, he's averaged, 21 and 8 on 50, 40, 90 shooting or damn close to it. That's an all-star season when you're helping your team be the number 1 team in the West. And then obviously for Ant, it just goes to show how much more popular he is around the league, that he's risen all the way to 6th in some of those votes. And, the hope is that, he can do it a little bit more consistently. I think the more consistently that he can have these games of 36, 38, 40, 42, the more that he'll be recognized. But, it's pretty tough when the 2 guards in the Western Conference are Steph Curry and Luka Doncic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Devin Booker up there too. But, it's just going to be tough for him to leapfrog those guys in that type of voting.
Well done tonight. As always, my man, you're an elite NBA mind. Wolves lose 3 of their last 4. They're going to try to bounce back again this Tuesday versus the Magic. That one's on the road again. Tip off 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. As always, huge shout out to everyone that joined us in the postcast and in the comments section. Rest assured, we're going to be back each and every game, same time, same place, right here to break it all down. Quick reminder as well, go check out all of Jack's work on Twitter at JRBorman13. And by the way, you can always check out Jack on the Minnesota basketball party with our guys Sam Ekstrom, Ron Johnson, Reggie Wilson from Care 11. That's every Wednesday afternoon as well. That'll do it for us tonight. One more quick plug, by the way. If you haven't already, got to go check out Ben Beacon over on the Locked On Wolves podcast as well. That'll do it for us tonight. He's Jack Borman. I'm Luke Inman on Twitter, at Luke_Spinman. Until next time, signing out.